Hello.
Good evening, teacher. I am Jose Castellanos. With I will change my name.
Please.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Professor. Hi, everybody.
Hi. I'm going to change the name of this room also. I think that I cannot do it, but anyhow.
You should change it to the best ones.
Huh?
Change it to the best ones.
Okay. I mean, Jose, long time no see.
Hello, partners. Hello, teacher.
Hello, hello. Okay, guys. So we don't have much time because we have class. You have class. Some of you have class at 8, right?
Yeah, we have ticks. Yeah.
Yes. Let me see. I have to admit everybody here. Tere y Julita. Who is Tere y Julita? Okay, can you listen? Something happened.
Yes, sir. We can listen.
Yes, teacher.
Okay, it says that my connection wasn't stable.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening. Any other? Julian Uribe. Okay, guys. So as I was saying, we don't have much time, so we have to start right now. Today we have some presentations. Remember that presentations cannot be that long, 20 minutes maximum, because we don't have time. Actually, 20 minutes is too much. 15 minutes, because we have to listen. Also, if we cannot listen to the 5 groups, we can have more time next class. Okay, just in case, because as we have only 1 hour.
Yeah.
Some of you have class, so we are going to start. So who's group number 1?
Professor Haido, I have a question. Professor Haido.
Yeah.
About this week's task about the listening and speaking activity lesson plan. Is it?
I couldn't listen very well. Could you please repeat?
Yeah, about this week's task.
Mm-hmm.
When are you gonna give us like the topic or how is that going to be done?
The activity for this class? For next one?
For the next one, the listening and speaking activity, the lesson plan, I think.
Let me check. This internet is so slow. Okay, could you please start and I'm going to solve the question at the end?
Okay, perfect.
Okay, who's
Okay,
group
so
number
I
1?
think group number 1 is us,
Yes.
Christian, Andres Felipe, and Nicolas. So our topic was or is to the definition of the definition of CLT, of communicative language teaching. Yeah. So what we decided to do in order to be a little bit more dynamic and kind of construct our presentation is to do like a little game. So we took it from this web page that gives like free activities that you can do on PowerPoint. Also, anyone can use them. So the objectives of our presentation are to construct collaboratively a definition of communicative language teaching, to learn what our classmates already know about CLT, which is communicative language teaching, give clarity on key facts, to study the definition of CLT while still having fun, and to encourage communication between the members of the class. So those are our objectives. So the way that it's going to work is we're going to make two teams. One is going to be rocket, and one team is going to be alien ship. And then each group is going to take turns choosing well, not choosing a number. The numbers are already organized. And then the first team to arrive to Mars is the winner, or the one who gets farther up, closer to Mars. Okay. So that's those are our two ships. So I don't know if we can choose.
So, you know,
Yeah.
Andres, let's choose the teams then. No?
Yeah. Choose the teams. So I don't know if you can help me, Chris, to organize the groups that I'm sharing my. So I can see the people.
Okay, wait, give me a minute, Andres here.
So should we go like Monica Molina, Alexander, Amin, Andres, Lopez, Ivan?
Hey, Nikki, you know what we should do? Pair the ones that are going to present that can be a team, so we can make it faster. You see what I'm saying?
Okay, yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess teams 2 and 3 can be
The rocket,
the alien ship.
and teams 4 and 5 can be the alien. Yes.
Something like perfect, yeah.
Okay, so teams 2 and 3 are the rocket, and teams 4 and 5 are the spaceship. Okay, so let's start.
Oh, wait, tan, 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 tan. Begin.
Yeah, it's starting. Wait. It has an animation and all.
Yeah, it does.
How do we give our answers?
Yeah, I will give you the question and give the answers. What I want to be clear is that this is just like kind of an activity. It doesn't mean that we understand, and probably there are a lot of things that most of us do have clear. Okay, so let's start with Team Rockets, which is Team 2 and 3. So it's your turn with question number 1. What is the relationship between humans that exists between humans and language? So somebody from groups 2 of 2 and 3 that can answer that question, please.
What is the relationship that is between humans and language?
Andres, let's give him a hint.
Okay, it has to be with exclusivity.
Okay, yeah.
That is the only way we communicate. Maybe.
Okay, the only way that we communicate?
Yeah, it's
okay. Let's
the only
see.
means of communication that we've had.
Okay, that's their answer. So let's see. The answer is that language is exclusive to human beings. So that is the answer. So language is something that is human specific, meaning that it's only we do it. And it is also, we also have to know that it is a system of systems that is arbitrary. Yeah, it's conventional, and that language is an open-ended system. So those are like the first characteristics that we need to have clear in language in order for us to do it. It's not necessarily, or well, I wouldn't know if it's the only way that we communicate. Maybe it is, but language is exclusive to human beings because it's the way that we communicate with each other. But because it's not exact, I wouldn't give them the point. Or I don't know if Christian and Nico say
no.
Otherwise.
Wait, so the answer is it's wrong.
Yeah.
One.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go with the second question.
Andres,
This one
isn't
is
it
for
better?
this
Isn't it
one
better?
is for spaceship.
Oh, I'm sorry. Andres. Okay, cool. All right, go ahead.
This one is for the group of spaceship that are teams 4 and 5. So the question is, what does the term communicative competence refer to?
Skills, abilities, or how it use the language.
Okay, so
Okay. Let's see.
The knowledge of how to use the language and the capacity for learning an infinite number of sentences. So I think that their answer, Christian is going to explain a little bit more that point.
Well, actually, it's knowing how to use language for a range of different purposes and functions, right? Knowing how to produce and understand different types of texts, like narratives, conversations, interviews, reports. Knowing how to vary our use of language according to the setting and the participants, knowing when to use formal and informal speech, and so on. So, Nikki, what do you think? Should we give him the point or what?
Yeah, I think they did get the point.
But
Close
wait, let me
enough.
think. Wait, let me think about it. Okay, let's give him the point. Perfect. I agree.
Okay, so now Team Alien Spaceship takes an advantage. Let's go to with question number 3 for Team Rockets. So the question is, what is the main goal of the communicative language teaching approach? Teams 2 and 3, please. Groups 2
Oh
and
my
3.
God. Can I give the answer, Andres? No.
No.
Okay.
What is the goal of the communicative language teaching approach?
Communicative approach.
Yeah.
There's a main focus.
If the other group does not answer, can we answer?
Okay, yeah, let's
Okay.
do it like that. Yes.
Yeah, why not?
So let's give them 10 seconds to think of the answer. What is the
One,
main goal of the
2,
communicative language teaching
3,
approach?
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Buzzer.
Do you have an answer? Okay, so let's go with the other group. The other group?
Yeah, the goal of communicative language teaching is the communicative competence.
Okay, let's see. Yeah,
Oh
to
my
develop the
God.
communicative competence in students.
Perfect.
Nicolas
Good.
is going to explain a little bit more that question.
Woohoo!
We're dead on point. So yes, basically the main goal is to develop communicative competence in students. It also aims to develop fluency in the target language, despite of the limitations that a student can have. Yeah, so it focuses more on the form rather than the structure. Okay, so we can say that if the student is constantly practicing or using the language in real context, the student is going to develop the target language in a more meaningful way and at a much faster rate. Yes, and another thing that is important to remember is that as teachers, we need to be mindful that language is social and we need to develop it as such. So that means it's very important to have that space within the classroom setting that we have the students share between themselves to have this process to be meaningful.
Okay, so point to Alien Spaceship, and now they have the opportunity to also give their answer.
But
So
Andres, Andres, let's wait and check who's winning. Who's got the most points now? What team?
well, you saw that the people of Alien Spaceship are on the front. Okay,
Alien ship
what
is winning.
Okay,
for
perfect.
this
Let's
question is for
continue.
Team Alien Spaceship, and then if they have it wrong or they don't have the answer, we will let Space Rocket answer. What did more traditional methods focus on?
They used to focus on more teaching the grammar itself, like grammar structures or vocabulary different from the communicative approach, which is to develop the communicative competence.
Okay, let's see the answer.
Okay,
Developing the grammar competence usually by making use of drills, repetition, and memorization. Very good. So yeah, in this point, other earlier views of language learning focused on mastery of grammatical competence. And what they did was they saw language learning as a process of mechanical habit formation. Yeah, so the good habits were achieved by correcting sentences and producing corrected sentences, and errors and mistakes were not allowed. Yeah, so everything was controlled and the production was also controlled, and there were dialogues and drills trying to make trying to memorize the structures. Okay, so learning was seen strictly under the control of the teacher. Okay, so Team Alien Spaceship is very fast, so we need Space Rocket to get up to date. Let's see the next question that is for Space Rockets.
I don't think they won't, but let's continue.
Question number 5 for Space Rocket. What type of processes are the ones that contribute to language learning? Team number 2 and 3.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10.
Okay. Team Ellie Spaceship, do you want to answer?
Could you specify a bit more processes, like meaning process-based methodologies or just any regular process in the class?
No, what
But,
processes in the class or what processes in the class or students should do undergo when they are learning language?
But Fernanda, let me give you a clue. Interaction between the learner and users of the language.
Maybe the freedom to use real conversations, maybe the inclusion of that in the classes.
Okay, kind of. Let's see the answer.
Okay.
Interaction, creation of meaning, negotiation of meaning, receiving feedback, input, and incorporating new forms, experimenting. All those are things that Christian is going to explain a little bit more.
It could be more like interaction between the learner and the users of the language, creating meaningful and purposeful interaction through language, negotiating meaning, learning through attending to the feedback learners get when they use the language, paying attention to the language one hears, input, trying out and experimenting with different ways of saying things, and so on. But what do you think, Andres? No
point. But all those processes are the ones that are involved in learning a language. Yeah,
and
all those things should be present when somebody is learning a language. Okay, let's go. Sorry. So no point for now. So let's go with question number 6. This one is for Alien Spaceship. So the question is, what is the role of teachers in CLT, in communicative language teaching? This is for the group of Alien Spaceship, teams 4 and 5.
No, I mean, I don't even know what team I am in. Can I answer?
Yeah,
of course.
worry. It's just an activity, but the idea is that we answer. Yeah.
Okay, it's to be to act more as a monitor. I think that, just to guide students, not to focus on.
Okay.
On just,
let's see the answer. So the answer, yes, it's true, is teachers become facilitators and they are not seen as know-it-all. So Nicolas is going to explain a little bit more of that.
So perfect. That answer was actually on point. So basically, the teacher's role in this approach is unlike the traditional approaches where the teachers were seen as the decision makers and the know-it-alls. In this case, the teachers adopt a role that as a facilitator that provides spaces to encourage communication within the classroom setting. Yeah. So it is more like you said, like a monitor. It helps the kids to feel motivated in this process, yes, and it can also act as a participant in the classroom by engaging in communication with the students.
Okay, very good.
Good answer.
I already got lost with which is the group, so I'm just going to go ahead with the questions. Question number 7. Let's do it for all the class, just for you to help us with the dynamic. Okay. So question number 7 is, what is the role of students in communicative language teaching?
Well, their role is to be active in the process, to be able to use their communicational skills and their interactional skills to produce the language within their resources, within their own language resources.
Okay, so the question is, they assume a more active role in the class. They help and are helped in the language learning process through cooperation, and they assume greater responsibility. So basically what that means is that now in communicative language teaching, students are active and they are cooperating all the time. So they are learning themselves and helping learn others to learn while they are interacting. Yeah, so they are expected to take a greater degree of responsibility of their own learning, and they are not relying so much on the teacher as a model, but they are also they have to start feeling more comfortable with listening and with speaking with their peers and interacting with them in different type of pair work or tasks or so on and so forth. Okay, so let's go with question number 8. This one, Christian is going to explain it a little more, but the question for all the class is, what is the role of grammar in CLT? What do you think it's the role of grammar?
Can you repeat the question?
What is the role of grammar in communicative language teaching? Somebody? Any ideas?
Okay, let's count to 10, Andres.
Okay.
One,
Well,
10.
grammar
two.
is not one of the skills that should be focused on, but it's a bypass of all of the other skills.
Okay, let's see.
Let's say
So grammar should be contextualized and should relate to the student's experiences. This will help the learner to develop awareness of the function of the language. Christian?
we can say more like teachers should be, or teachers should teach the functional grammar to the learners. Learners should be exposed to language through the four skills in an integrated way. Listening helps them to understand and analyze grammar in a context. Let's say reading gives them a scope for answering comprehensive questions in a context. Grammar should be contextualized and should relate to the student's experiences. And this will help the learner to develop awareness of the function of the language, right? And maybe use of spiral method to teach grammar, illustration, explanation, and practice.
Okay, so let's go to the next question. That is question number 9. Now, what is the role of errors in communicative language teaching?
Opportunities for learning.
Exactly, opportunity for learning.
The natural process of learning. Natural process of learning.
Okay, yeah, kind of. Errors are seen as part of the experimentation process. They are a sign that students are building their communicative competence. Nico?
Yes, so like you said, guys, it is part of the process, and students and teachers and instructors need to know this. Yes, but the main focus here is not so much the mistake, but as long as the message can gets across, or the person can understand it, then the mistake is not that relevant. Yes, and while doing this research for this presentation, I found something that caught my attention that had to do with mistakes. They were saying that mistakes cannot be considered mistakes because in some situations the students haven't been told or shown how to do things, so they don't know any better. So they're just doing the best as they can. So it is very important to keep that in mind. Yes. Also, if the idea is the teachers not to correct all the time constantly, because that probably will make the kids less confident when using language for communication. So it's very important to understand that it's okay to make mistakes, but there needs to be a guidance as well.
Okay, let's go with question. We're almost finished. Question number 10. What is the relationship between accuracy and fluency in a communicative language teaching classroom? Somebody?
No, I don't know.
Okay, 10, 9, 8,
7,
7,
6,
6,
5,
5,
4,
4,
3,
3,
2,
2, 1, time.
blast off.
So the focus of a communicative language teaching classroom is in developing fluency and using language naturally. The learning process may imply accuracy issues, which are acceptable so long as the communication is achieved. So basically, one of the main goals of communicative language teaching is for the students to develop fluency in the language use. Fluency is part of natural language using meaningful interaction and maintains ongoing communication despite his limitations. So fluency is developed by creating classroom activities in which students can negotiate meaning, use communication strategies, correct misunderstandings, and work to avoid breakdowns, okay? So fluency practice can be contrasted with accuracy practice, which focuses on creating correct examples of language use. Basically what this means is that in communicative language teaching, we are going to privilege fluency and having kids and having students in general learning and being able to use the language and achieve communication, even if at some points have to sacrifice a little bit of accuracy. However, of course, the idea or the goal eventually is for the students to be gaining their accuracy. Like we said before, grammar is going to be implied, and also, of course, they are going to be learning grammar throughout, and they are going to be getting better. But the thing is, in more traditional methods, what they would do was just focus on the grammar, and they have to be perfect and excellent, while now we're going to focus on fluency and being able to achieve communication, even if sometimes accuracy is a little bit sacrificed. Okay, so let's go to question number 11. what type of situation should be used in CLT?
Real life situations.
Oh my
Or
God,
everyday
Fernanda. Oh, that,
Okay, let's see. Real life situations. Students should learn to use the language in real life context.
yes,
Christian?
yeah, she said it. Well, most of the situations students will face are oral, right? And learning is done to use the language in real context, not in make-believe. Maria Fernanda, congratulations.
Yeah. So basically, in that thing is the idea is the language is close to students. So if some if situations are out of context, it's not going to be that real for them. So it's going to be tougher to develop the competence that we want. And the last question would be, what is the role of accents in communicative language teaching? Anyone can think, what is the role of accents?
I'm not pretty sure, but I think it's something related to incentivizing cultural exposure or something like that. I don't remember.
Okay, let's see. So CLT teachers should not teach British or American accents, but focus on overcoming regional accents or wrong pronunciation and still achieve communication. Nico?
Correct. So the main focus here is not on any specific accent, but the main thing is, like I said before, to get the idea across in the best way as you possibly can. And this, to answer this question or to give more information about it, I like to can I share one experience that I had when I was a bit younger, when I was traveling abroad. My first experiences working with kids was very difficult, you see, because I wasn't very confident speaking in English. Yeah. So when I started my lesson, because at the time I was a tennis coach, then the teacher from that school told me, "You're doing fine. Don't panic. Just whatever you do, just keep the conversation alive." Yes. And so at the time, I just didn't understand, but then I got it that what she meant was that just keep on talking, that as long as the kids are understanding you, you're fine. And that for me was a crucial point, because working with kids helped me improve my English so much at a much faster rate than my friends that didn't have the chance to work with kids. See, so that's a good example of this type of approach.
Now,
Thank you.
kind of what I wanted to say regarding what Mafe said, I do think that through communicative language teaching, we're exposing kids to cultures, but basically the idea is that we used to, because before we needed everything to be super accurate, we would teach just American English or British English, but this focus is just on getting students to be able to communicate. And even if they get to communicate, they are going to be able to communicate with any type of accent or any type of variant of the English language. Okay, so thank you very much. That was our presentation on the definition of communicative language teaching.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. It was very complete. Actually, it was as I expected, because you cover many things, many aspects. One of the things that it is important in communicative language teaching is to understand that communication is not a sum of skills. It's not the sum of certain knowledges, but it is the combination of all of them into a social context that it is the most important, because the communicative language teaching comes from the social cultural perspective that agrees on that the knowledge is produced and it is constructed or co-constructed between people, and it is the zone of proximal development taken by Vygotsky, the ones that it is leading in these kind of processes. So thinking about these kind of things, or this uh, communication in this way, lead us to understand that it is not to look for to certain cognitive strategies, but or to look for to have a very good proficiency, but it is like the combination of everything, the combination of social skills, the combination of communicative skills, and the combination also of these linguistic skills that are necessary to have very nice communication, because this is the most important in here, the communication rather than the use of the language. Okay, thank you very much for the presentation. We are going to go with the second one. I think that we are not going to have all of the presentations today. I don't know, let's see. But let's continue with the second one. Alexander and Jasmine.
And
Paola, right?
Paola.
Yes,
Yeah.
teacher. Hello.
Okay. All right. Can everybody see?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we have, yeah, our topic was very similar to the one the previous team had. So they go hand in hand. But before we start with the presentation of different classroom activities, which is the topic that we have, I would like to start with to start off with some other important input we found very useful and also needed to know. And it's about the different approaches or methodologies there have been during the past 50 years. So we will also talk about what communicative activities are. Okay, so we have that regarding the teacher, he becomes more of a facilitator or a monitor in class rather than being a model for correct speech and writing, where students are not allowed to make error sentences. With the inclusion of CLT or communicative language teaching into the class, students have more freedom to use real conversations or practices where they have to improvise what they were going to say next. Now, but let's not forget about the traditional method classes that were focused more on measuring grammar competences and memorization of dialogues and drills. So basically, it was all about controlled conversations. There's an exercise that I would like to do. So we have 8 sentences here. Say it's, 6 activities. I would like three of my classmates to read the sentences, please. And you guys are gonna tell me which activities you consider are communicative activities. For example, Christian, can you be the first one, please? Can you read sentence first and second?
It's too big. I don't see it like in the screen. Ah, okay, better. So what should
the first one. Can you just read the sentence? The first
where
one.
it says number 1 and 2, repeating sentences, doing oral grammar drills.
Yeah, Nicholas, can you read the third and fourth, please?
Reading aloud from the course book and giving a prepared speech.
Okay, Andres, can you do the next one, please? 5 and 6.
Acting out a scripted conversation, giving instructions so that someone can use a machine.
And John Jairo, please.
Number 6, right?
7 and 8.
Giving instructions so that someone can use a machine.
Okay, can you read 7 and 8, please?
Improvising a conversation so that includes lots of examples of grammar structure.
All right. Amin, can you read the 8th one, please?
Describing a picture in the textbook while the others look at it.
All right, guys, thanks a lot. Now, which ones do you consider are more communicative activities? So, just we have like 3 activities here, only 3.
Doing oral grammar drills, reading out loud. Oh, okay. There's only 3 there's 3 out of 8.
Yeah. There are 3 sentences.
Maybe number 6, giving instructions to someone.
Okay.
What about number 5?
No. Number 7, yeah. Number 7.
And 8.
And 8. Okay, I'll tell you why. Actually, only these 3 activities are the only communicative activities. Why? Because they are the only ones that involve a real exchange of information, like so repetitions, drills, speeches. I mean, they all give us like useful order practice, but they don't provide communication. Okay, and we have this, the traditional approaches in this case. Now, it was thought that the most appropriate method for teaching a language was through grammar and through repetitive practice drills. So these are, now what I'm saying here is that we're talking about the past 50 years, the three different approaches to the 90s. And in the 1990s was the time when a new phase in teaching began. So grammar was no longer the starting point in every single language class. There was a huge need to find new approaches, and all the advocates of communicative language teaching were arguing that communicative competence and not simply grammatical competence should be the goal of. So we have describing wishes and needs and so on. And the finals we have, which is current communicative language teaching, which is from 1990 to the present. We have that this approach has been implemented since 1990, and it's truly focused more on the communicative competence, which means getting students to learn by using the language to make themselves understood through different methods in order to achieve the goal of communicating effectively on their own, and having the teacher more as a monitor. So this methodology is what we call communicative competence. And now we have Paola. So Paola, I'll give you the remote control.
Okay, Alex, thank you. Okay, thanks. Now I continue with communicative classroom activities. Okay.
You have the remote. Mm-hmm.
Yes, Alex, please. Language class have one main goal, which is to get fluent in a language. Fluency and accuracy are they okay? Please, next slide, Alex.
Well, you have the remote control. Paola. Paola, you're the one controlling it.
No, Alex. Give me.
Mm-hmm.
Close your presentation, Alex, and I open because I don't know what happened with my
Yes,
computer.
we're still looking at the screen of Alexander. It says here that I am looking at Alexander's Oviedo.
Yeah, but Alexander gave the control to
okay,
Paola.
okay.
Maybe you just have to.
Okay,
Alexander, just move the slide.
Ready, Alex?
1 second. Okay, Paola, you can share your screen.
Okay, give me a moment. Here, can you see?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, then next. Okay, now, activities focusing on fluency. Firstly, fluency is the ability to communicate, meaning without too much stopping or hesitating. Also, we can talk about accuracy, which refers to the correctness of a student's use of grammar, pronunciation, and vocabulary. With respect to this, some students say about trying to be fluent. For example, the students maybe sometimes say, I worry about making mistakes. I feel very shy when I speak English in front of my classmates. I often don't have the words to say what I want, and I get stuck when I don't know a word, or I don't know, I always want to ask the teacher if my English is correct. Okay, now in activities focusing on accuracy, Reflect classroom use language, focus on the formation of correct examples of language, practice language out of the context. But when we focus on accuracy activities, we focus on forming correct examples of language. Also deal with grammar explicitity and practice language out of language. In summary, accuracy is the complement to fluency. Okay, now let's talk about the other practice are very important communicative language teaching. Firstly, mechanical practice. What is mechanical practice? Mechanical practice refers to a controlled practice activity which students can successfully carry out without necessarily understanding the language they are using. Know better about how the structure is formed, isolate it, no context, focused on form, not on meaning or communicative function. For example, repetition drills and substitution drills designed to practice use of particular grammatical or other items. Like traditional. Another is a mindful practice. What about mindful practice? Mindful practice, we still have
sorry, you mean
control.
meaningful?
Meaningful, excuse me. Meaningful practice, here we still have control of the language. However, students make their process meaningful in practice. Here, focused on production, students keep their eyes on structures. And the other is a communicative practice. The communicative practice manage a real context or a real life for the development of its activities, and also its language is not totally predictable. In this practice, it plays the role play and simulation. For example, a student may be given a short scene or to act out, but must use their own ideas. One more. In communicative activities require students to use their language resources to overcome an information gap or solve a problem. This is another activities. For example, this is a GSAO activities. In this, the students have the necessary information and must use linguistic resources to communicate mindful and to finish the activity. Finally, in CLT, many activities have been used, such as games, map reading, surveys, debates, forums, all focus on the use linguistic resources. And finally, This is the 10 assumptions of current communicative language teaching. Please, Maria Fernanda, can you read one?
Anyone?
Yes.
Okay. Second language learning is facilitated when learners are engaged in interaction and meaningful communication.
Yes, thank you. And another, for example, Christian.
Let me see. The
Maybe.
role of the teacher in the language classroom is that of a facilitator.
It's the same like you say in the last presentation. And another partner, I mean,
For example, meaningful communication result from students processing content that is relevant.
one is. Nicolas, please help me. Another.
Language learning is both by activities that involve inductive or discovery learning of underlying rules of language use and organization.
Thank you. And Julian. Okay, Julian, can you read anyone? No. Andres Felipe.
So, communication is a holistic process that often calls on the use of several language skills or modalities.
Okay, now Alex, please.
Language learning is facilitated both by activities that involve inductive or discovery learning of underlying rules of language use and organization.
Okay, finally, John Jairo.
Okay. Successful language learning involves the use of effectivity learning and communication strategies.
Okay, okay, thank you. Alice, can you say one more to respect?
Sure. Learners develop their own routes to language learning.
Okay, Alice, thank you. Okay, this is the last slide. Okay, ready, teacher. Ready, Alex.
Okay, so
One more?
I assume that you have finished. Something that is important in here is to notice and to take into account, I mean, you have to keep in mind the essence of communicative language teaching. Again, they were like checking some aspects, some characteristics of communication language teaching, some of the activities that are suggested in order to have a better interactive class, because interaction is the key here. Remember that. So the classes that we are going to design next time is going to be, they are going to be based on communicative language teaching. They are not going to be based on grammar. They are not going to be grammar based or any other kind of classes. So what we have to do is to pay attention to the characteristics, to the role of the teacher, the role of the student, the activities, the kind of activities that we are going to have, and so on and so forth. And the time is almost over. I have to clarify something related to what Christian asked. Let me show you Christian and the rest. Here we have the activity. The next activity is for May the 3rd. It means that we have 2 weeks to do it.
Oh, okay, perfect, sir.
Yes, that there is a reason why. It is supposed that, okay, I imagine this class as a 2-class hour. I mean, an hour sorry, a class of 2 hours. So I wanted to cover all the topics of this first unit today. And next class, I wanted to work with you on the designing of the listening and speaking activities in order to explain how to do that, explain the format, try to work on the objectives and those kind of issues that are related to the planning of the activities for you to deliver the activities on May the 3rd. But as you can see, we couldn't finish. However, I'm going to ask, is there any group, if you are complete, that can continue with the presentation? Because anyhow, the recording is going to be there for the rest of you. Group number 3, 4, and 5. Can you continue with the presentation?
But shouldn't we, I mean, we are here and we are ready, but shouldn't we, but we are group 4. Shouldn't we like
No,
continue with the order?
The order is not important. The thing is that if you can stay, because some of you have class, so if you can stay and do the presentation, doesn't matter if it is 4, 5, or 3.
Oh, okay. No, I can't do it.
Me neither.
So if you cannot do it, then next class, okay? Any other group? Number 3. Who's number 3?
Hi, it's Julian and I. We're checking right now to see. I'm asking him, and we're checking.
Professor Jairo, I think we got to go to the other class.
Yes, no problem. Goodbye.
Okay, sir, thank you very much.
See you next time.
Okay, bye-bye, sir.
Profe, we're group 3, but we'll do it next class.
Okay, no problem. So this is the end of the class then, because we don't have any other group to present. And let's see what happens next class, okay? Thank you very much for attending the class.
I just have one question about the
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, teacher.
Okay, teacher.
Are the activities in groups or is that individual?
Which
It's
activity?
in pairs. The ones for next week is in pairs.
It is not for next week.
I mean, not next week, but the
following
tasks.
activities.
Yeah.
All right, in pairs. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay,
Goodbye.
bye. See you guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, thanks.